Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. So I am currently at a conference. Anyway, I'm currently at a conference. Sorry, text message. um, at the Amen conference, and every year is at the Hyatt Regency. And so I'm here at the Regency in the nice little executive suite. Uh-oh. Okay, anyway. So I'm here to bring you good tidings about Real Housewives of New Jersey. And here. Okay. So sorry, my eye is just really bothering me. My contact. Ugh. Okay. I actually took notes. So this episode starts off with Melissa and Joe. I guess we could talk about people individually or we can go through the thing. So we took notes and y'all, I made a comment about this online and um on Twitter that it is I made a comment about this online because we this reunion is going to be uh explosive, and I predict that because Melissa and Joe are having this narrative that they were super there for Teresa while she was in jail. Meanwhile, this has been a minute since she's been to jail. Like, so this is not like this happened 2 days ago or even last year. She's been to jail, she's been out of jail, been back on Real Housewives. She's been um her husband's been to jail, she's been divorced, she's getting married again. And we're talking about her and that her brother and Melissa are bringing up how they were there for her in the past. Now, here's the thing about this that's kind of humorous because they keep saying that um Melissa and Joe keep bringing up that they help put food on the table because her husband Joe had no income. And they had a show, get this, Teresa, it's like Teresa, is it Ghost saying goodbye or Teresa, whatever. Teresa's name is in the show. Okay. And so they're like, well, he needed somebody to film with. By the way, don't they had kids, they had a mother and a father that was still alive. And somehow Joe and Melissa were needed for the show for them to film. Like he had no friends, like he had nothing. So he's just out here needing Melissa and Joe in order for somebody to film for the show. So they felt that they were helping to get the show going and they get money off the ground. And I'm like, wait a second, y'all. Make this make sense. If but Teresa's name is on the show. So because and then the more even fascinating thing about this is that Joe was talking a lot of ish about Joe and did not like Joe at all, which Teresa's husband, which is understandable. You put my sister in jail, so why should I like you? But then again, why would you come? Why would you come to riddle me this. Why would you film on a show, right? And you're upset with him about your sister going to jail. You don't like him, but you're going to still film and talk to him and be chummy. Like if you go back and watch the old episodes, they like to be cool in person and talk ish behind your back. Like keep that same energy. You shouldn't have been on the show if you that upset, but somehow you managed to put your upset feelings aside and only come around when filming the scenes. The irony about this is that they feel like they were doing Teresa a favor to come and check on the girls when they were filming. The kids are now up here saying, you only came around when it was time to film. You never came around when it wasn't time to film. Now, they are, Melissa and Joe are in their own way confirming that, but they're trying to spin it as if it is a charity for them. And Teresa's trying to give an excuse like, well, Joe didn't like my Joe, and whereas the kids are like, it doesn't matter. You don't have to like my father, but you should have came around for us because your sister was in jail. And what can Teresa say about that? Nothing. But the missing link here is this. You got paid. You didn't come around. You coming around to film scenes. You got a check. You benefited from that. So what are we talking about? The anger that Joe has, to me, is illogical. I mean, yeah, it's illogical. I am now on the side of, as much as I think that Teresa does need to be honest, and so but I will also side with that Joe's anger is now frankly illogical. Melissa saying, I'm like, did Melissa realize that, did Melissa tell Joe that Teresa invited you into the wedding? Because now you're running this narrative that Joe's upset that Melissa's not in the wedding, and Joe's upset that his in-laws aren't invited to the wedding. Pause. Why would the in-laws be invited to the wedding, period? Number one, they're your in-laws, not her in-laws. They're not even attached to the family, to her side of it. They are nothing in the line of needing to invite, number one. Number two, Teresa does not like Melissa. So why would Melissa's parents want to come to the wedding? I'll let you know right now. You don't like my kid. You're tolerating my kid because of the show, because you're married to my brother. And then you feel obligated to invite me to your wedding? You don't like my kid, and I don't like the way that you're talking and treating my kid. You think I'm going to your wedding? Miss me with this. So that's why I'm like, this whole storyline is bullshit. Like, it is bull. And it is, this reunion is going to be, I predict, is going to make Melissa and Joe look horrible, because they're going to play these, which they've already released. They're going to play these unreleased scenes that are not on the show of the kids contradicting everything that Melissa and Joe are saying. And even in the last episode, which I mentioned, when Louis confronts Joe and tells him what the kids are saying, And Joe starts backpedaling on what he's saying because now the kids are talking. So here's the thing. You can keep the lie going when the kids aren't talking. But the kids clearly are like, look, we are tired of you running this narrative. We're done with it. We're going to, speak our piece. And what can you say about that? Nothing. Anywho, moving. Okay, I'm gonna finish this Melissa conversation. That's really the bulk of this. And I'm gonna be honest. I am curious to see what's going to happen next season. Teresa's never leaving the show. And I'm curious because Teresa doesn't have the guts, in my opinion, to tell Bravo, me or them. and then clearly, but what she can do, which I think she will do, is eventually she's going to be like, look, I'm not filming scenes with my brother. And so this is going to make it really awkward with this, because I think at this point, I don't want to say that there's no room for them to get together again, but I feel like there's no room for them to get together because Teresa's kind of the one who's like, look, you're messing with my kids. It's a wrap. Even if that means who is she going to choose between her kids and her brother? She's only going to do this for so long. And I think that she's at this point where she is going to choose her kids over her brother. And definitely over Melissa. So the question is going to be like, how will next season go? And are we still going to get this whole Melissa and Joe versus Teresa? And I'm going to be honest. The viewers are getting tired of this back and forth because this is like never ending. Okay, I'm going to finish this. Oh, the interaction. Okay, so this Joe and Melissa, like Joe, like Teresa calls Joe. Joe gives this whole BS. We're good. We're good. And I think that Teresa knows that it was BS. But what are you going to do? You're going to push the argument. And I will assert that Teresa does not have clean hands in this. And it is really disturbing that you're going to tell people that you need to get over everything. Get over it, get over the past, get over what's happened, and we can't focus on the past. It's always funny how one person always wants to move on and then they expect the other person to move on at the same time. However, I still feel that Joe and Melissa are more culpable in this problem. And at the end of the day, they have to still continue to come to an agreement somehow. So Joe decides, and see, this is the problem with Joe, that I'm going to actually disagree with him again on this. He decides not to come to this event, the party. He's like, what's the point of going to the party? He justifies it with not being invited to the wedding. I mean, with his in-laws being invited to the wedding, which is stupid. The fact that he wasn't sitting at her table, which I think is ridiculous. Like, I mean, that is, to me, is so petty. I'm not sitting at your table. Okay. Petty. And then Melissa not being in the wedding. I don't like Melissa. So therefore, why would I have her in my wedding? Like, you're trying to force Teresa to make Melissa feel like a sister to her, when in fact, that is not how she feels. So you should take it for how it is instead of trying to make it to something what it is not. And so Joe decides to tell Melissa, hey, I'm not going, which I think is ridiculous. Melissa's like, of course, this is going to feed into the narrative. No, it's not feeding into the narrative. He made a choice. So Melissa has this interaction with the kids, which I think is extremely awkward. Her face when she walked away, I think is really problematic. She doesn't, I mean, okay, if I haven't seen somebody and I really love them and it's been a while, I'm the adult, I would hug them. I mean, I would hug my nieces if I haven't seen them in 6 months and I really miss them. So to me, it's kind of strange. And I will say, like, I'm not the hugging per se type, but um, I don't know, like, do I hug my nieces now? I do. And I should hug them more. I'll work on that because I love my nieces. Um, but I will say, like, I find that whole interaction ridiculous. The small talk was evident. Um, and the kids, to say that the kids have hate in their heart, I don't think that that's how the kids are acting. And I don't think that you should be putting those kind of words. Melissa made that statement. I don't think Melissa should be putting those kind of words in their mouth. But I do think that Melissa, Melissa, I do think that they're tired of the fakeness. Here's the thing. Here's the issue. And this is for anybody who gets on reality TV. Kids, children are going to feel away. And kids, children are going to feel away, right? You can't disrespect their mother and think that they're going to ignore it. Now, you've already disrespected their father and you feel justified because you feel like you're protecting your sister, when in fact, it's their father. And see, this is all okay when I don't want to say okay, but this is all can be overlooked because they're kids when they're little. But these are now, I think the oldest is in her 20s, early 20s or late teens. And then the youngest is like in her teens. Yeah. So they now have seen stuff, they'll hear stuff. They're old enough to watch the show without mom controlling it. Mom can't control it. So, and they can hear your podcast. And now you have to be extremely cautious with your words because you are not going to be able to say and do what you used to be able to say when they're little and still have a positive reaction from the kids. They are now very close to adulthood and they are going to make decisions based on how you act and treat their mother. Their dad is in freaking Italy. Y'all don't even have a communication with their dad, so you can't say much about that. But they are absolutely, if you are going, this is why I don't think that Melissa and Joe should have even brought up anything about what happened when it came to when Teresa was in jail. Because these kids are old enough to be able to hear the clips from the podcast, hear the entire podcast, make all of their statements, have all of their feelings, and they are never going to side and be chummy with you if you're going to have that same energy, if you're going to have this negative energy, which they'll feel towards their mother. I mean, it just is what it is. Like, this is not a brain science. This is legit. You can't treat their mother like crap and think that they're going to be good with you. It's not happening. So she walks away talking about, oh, it's just so sad. And I feel like Melissa and Joe are really playing victims here, and they're going to have to take some culpability. You're going to have to change what you say in public. You're going to have to change how you act towards towards Teresa, if you want to hold the family together. And you may feel like, well, that's not fair because Teresa does little digs. And I get that it may not be fair, but you have to ask yourself, like, is it important to have a relationship? Look, there are some things that my sister-in-laws that have said stuff that I don't think is right, but I think it's more important for the family to stay together. And so I'll stomach whatever. And because I think that the family being together is most important. And there are some things that my mom has said about my husband or to my husband sometimes that I think is not necessarily cool. And I'll talk to her about it. But he's not going to say anything rude or disrespectful to my mom. And I'll do the same thing to his family because keeping family together is most important to us than to be right. I'm justified in going off. He's justified in going off. But our family together is way more important than us being right and feeling good at the moment and justified in being and correcting and being, you know, and feeling like they can just say and do whatever, because then our kids would absolutely be harmed in the conflict. So, and that's not something that no one wants to happen. So that's why I don't get Melissa and Joe. It's called consequences. So you may feel you have done everything that you feel that is justifiably right, and maybe they feel justified. I don't agree. But the consequences is that your family's not going to get together. Period. And your kids and her kids are not going to be together because of it. And that just is what it is. The chosen family, I think, comment at the end at the party, I think is a dig. But here's the thing, Joe decided not to come. She didn't not invite Joe. Joe made the decision to come, not to come. So I don't understand what Melissa's upset about. And Melissa gets upset, makes the whole moment about her. Margaret, of course, has her 2 cents, like this, like somebody asked. Well, I'm sure that they asked you, but we didn't need it. And then she comes back, Melissa comes back from tearing up, from crying in the bathroom. She comes immediately back and be like, girl, Jackie, let me tell you what Danielle said. You looked her up and down. And I told, like, she starts some crap between Danielle and Jackie. And I was like, wait a second, I thought we were just sad 2 seconds ago. And now you're coming back and you starting crap between Danielle and Jackie. And then when you see Danielle walk over to Jackie and call her out on it, now you have your eyes all big, like you're surprised that that you started the BS and a fight pops off. Like, come on. Like, I mean, girl, cry me a river. Okay. Okay, let's move on. Bill and Jennifer are have dinner, and I'm not understanding Jennifer's argument towards Bill. Like, can we just get to the bottom line? You are not over the fact that Bill cheated on you. Legit, I understand. And you are torturing this man by being rude AF, right? Like you're being rude. And therefore you're being bitter towards people. Look, I understand. I completely and utterly understand. But girl, you look horrible. And then the fact that Rachel and Jennifer come together, and I got it all wrong. So I thought that Jennifer was the friend that Margaret was coaching to be on the show, when in fact maybe she was coaching Jennifer to be on the show, but it looked like there's another friend that's been talking to all the housewives and trying to get on the show, but she's not officially on the show. But anywho, Rachel and Jennifer come together to talk about how the other Jennifer is being mean, and she's calling different people and talking nasty about different people, and it's like, I really don't care. Like, and then the whole, what did Jennifer say that was so all that mean? I was like, was it really mean? Okay, whatever. Y'all need to have um y'all need to reevaluate what mean is. So I will say that it absolutely was offensive to talk about Jennifer's nose. To talk about Jennifer talking about Rachel's nose. And I also think it was even funnier because at the end, at Teresa's party, Jennifer was like, look, I was just trying, Rachel, was it, yeah, no, not Rachel, Jennifer, right? Rachel? No, it was Rachel. Jennifer's like, Rachel, I was just trying to bond over bad nose jobs. I was like, oh, that's funny. But on the other hand, not inaccurate. I chuckled because I was like, yeah, both of y'all's noses don't look good. Okay. Last but not least, we have the Dolores and Margaret conversation. And Dolores and Margaret are kind of talking at the party, talking about like, oh, okay, so which I agree with Dolores by saying like, look, Frank needs to realize that he's not the man in my life. True tea. But Margaret and Dolores making comments over how it's not okay for the in-laws to come to the wedding. And I was just like, girl, when you are making a wedding list and you need to trim that sucker down, you could be like, am I going to choose a friend or my brother's in-laws coming to the wedding? I am crossing my brother's in-laws coming to the wedding. Just letting you know. A friend, brother's in-laws coming to the wedding. You are 2-3 people removed from me. So no. And I just don't understand why that whole conversation needed to be had. And I feel like this is going to be a setup for Teresa to have to defend her decision for not inviting the in-laws, which I think is ridiculous. You shouldn't have to defend your decision. Your kids are correct. And I've always had a problem with this, that Teresa always goes to advice from her, especially her oldest daughter. Her oldest daughter always gives her advice on her own adult life. And I wish I would go to my daughter and ask her for advice about my choices. I mean, I'm grown. You are not. I mean, I know now that her daughter is grown, but you haven't lived long enough. And one can argue, is it better to invite the in-laws and keep the peace? I just wouldn't. Like, and the in-laws shouldn't expect to come. But anywho, it's not her in-laws, it's her brother's in-laws. Like, I care. And I mean, that's the thing that is so bizarre to me. I don't care. But anywho, with all that being said, have a great rest of your afternoon, and I'll see you next time.